Do you like my hair? I wouldn't do that to you. All right. Cut me some slack. It is after all quarantine. Okay, so I got a thought today, a thought nugget, and that thought nugget is, what should every program contain? Different programs, different strokes, different folks. Your goal is different than somebody else's. Your limitations are different. Your health is different. All that. Okay, but what should your program consist of every single time? Right. So there's something that is universally important for everyone. So there's a couple things. The first thing that comes to mind for me is mobility, and that also, and then subcategories of mobility would be flexibility, pliability, that sort of thing. But mobility is absolutely huge. Part of your workouts, or maybe the entire workout, depending on how much you want to focus on it, should be about mobility. What good does it do you to look a certain way or train a certain way if you're not going to be mobile? This is specifically important to, as you age, longevity. What good does it do you if you can't move properly? One of the new studies that's out there now actually highly suggests that if you want a good barometer for the longevity of someone, that barometer is mobility. How well does that person functionally move in everyday life? And that's why I am a big proponent of functional training, mobility training, doing workouts that actually help you in everyday life. If that happens to be sports, that's great. That's very functional, of course. But just for someone who's trying to perform better in everyday life, that is what I try to gear most of my workouts towards, no matter what the person's goal is. Because I think no matter what, that's going to help them. And I get more specific after that. The other thing that I think is universally important, there's a guy, and these are things you pick up after working in the health and fitness industry for years, but there was an older guy that used to come in a gym I used to work for years ago. This guy was, I don't know, in his 70s at the time, and he was a beast. Now, he was probably at the forefront of the whole movement of resistance training back in like the 50s when nobody was doing it. And he told me that the one thing that he focused on, because I was like, man, this guy's incredible. He still moves well. I mean, he still looks, fit, and he's in his 70s. He was in the gym probably 4 or 5 times a week anyway, but he focused at least, I think, 1 or 2 days to really hardcore resistance training. And his philosophy behind it was, if you fall and you break your hip, if your bone density is too light, if you don't have very heavy bone density, and you fall and you break your hip, that's a big one for a lot of the elderly. And you may not think about that. If you're in your 30s, 20s, even 50s, 60s, you may not think about it. But it starts now, and that's the whole point. It starts now. And that's what he would do. He would go in there and do really hardcore leg days because that builds bone density, obviously a lot of muscle to support bones in the joints. And that was his philosophy, and I agree with it. And that really kind of transitions well to another thing I focus a lot on, which is balance. All those things go together in balance. And if you have poor balance, you don't have good coordination, your brain doesn't communicate with your body very well, you can work on that. You can train that. And it's very important because, A, it does prevent injuries, but just having spatial awareness and having your body do what you're asking it to do should be a part of anybody's training. It should be integrated into everyone's training, no matter what you're training for. And, of course, you cannot forget core strength or any sort of core integration. When I say core, that doesn't mean you're just doing a bunch of abs or sit-ups. In fact, no. What that means is that we're working on our center of gravity. So, yeah, your abs is part of that, but also parts of your back, your thighs, anything that has to do with your center of gravity. So if your core is weak, everything's weak. Core work is the foundation of everything. And usually when I'm training clients, the funny thing is that they'll work their core, because a lot of my training is basically nothing but functional core workouts. And so, at the end they'll go, well, can we do some core work? I'm like, well, what do you think we just did? The entire workout. They just don't realize it because they didn't do a bunch of sit-ups or crunches. So they don't realize that they did core. So a lot of stabilization and core endurance. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. If you need someone to design your program based on your individual needs, hey, you're watching my video. Why wouldn't you ask me? That's all I'm saying. All right, see you guys soon. Stay quarantined, stay healthy, stay well, and stay dangerous.